they have a conniption fit, and I would like I would like to do an episode at some point discussing not quite my hatred for Jim Ryan, but I just every time I see that guy, I think back to a quote that he had a couple years ago where he was like, well, we've got Gran Turismo, I think it was GT Sport, and then he was like, if you've got this game and you've got it side by side with Gran Turismo 1 from the PlayStation 1, it looks ancient, it looks old. Who wants to play old games? Like I do. Like
Everybody
I would
does.
like like
That's
Square Enix has figured out this wonderful engine and people are loving it
yeah.
with Octopath Traveler and the triangle strategy game that's
And they're
coming.
they're begging Square Enix, just make every game and put it in this, not the Octopath engine, because the Octopath engine is just Unreal 4. I call it the
Right.
Octopath engine because that's just easier, but it really is just that visual
Yeah.
style.
Yeah.
But like, yeah,
But
Dragon
like
Quest 3 hands down is my most
just amazing.
anticipated game right now because it's in that visual style, which is the day Octopath Traveler was shown off, I was begging for that original NES trilogy of Dragon Quest.
And like we're kind of seeing, you know, Square Enix went through about 10 years of it's like they didn't have any clue, any idea what their fan base wanted. They went about 10 years where they were just churning out crap. And I am enjoying these last few years where it's like they've just it's like an about face. They've like the world ends with you getting the I think remaster, and then they're making a sequel to it. I loved the game
Yeah.
on DS. The stuff that they're doing with Dragon Quest 3, Octopath Traveler was just amazing. Triangle Strategy has me super pumped.
Yeah.
Like I'm just super excited for that. It's just Final Fantasy 16 going back to full on fantasy, the
Yeah.
rebirth of Final Fantasy 14, the stuff with Final Fantasy 7, remake, like it's like a complete about face. Um, but it's just like with I like I said, it's just I really hope to have an episode where we can kind of talk about um, just the detach from the gaming community that it seems like Jim Ryan has,
Yeah.
because I go back and play The Legend of Dragoon and Suikoden 1 and 2 like almost every year.
Yeah.
Um
Well, it's
like
like
I
you contrast that with like Microsoft and their understanding that people don't necessarily want to play those old games right now, but they want
yeah,
the ability to go back and play them if they have owned them in the past. And so when you have access to your entire Xbox library from the very first Xbox all the way to the Series X, and
yeah,
it's all right there, it's all accessible, you can have it in any time you want and you don't have to buy those games again. They understand
yeah,
that that's what people want. They don't necessarily want to be sold that old game again. They just want to be able to play it when they want to. The one
yeah,
company
and
that could benefit the most from that is not doing it, and that is Nintendo.
yeah, yeah, and I like
Like, I'm guilty, don't get me wrong. I am guilty of rebuying every game from them every single time it comes out. So I am a huge part of that problem. But they
well,
could make so much money just by
like
giving people access to that entire library of Nintendo games on the Switch.
yeah, and they've got the platform already there. Like they've got the Nintendo Online subscription, which NES and Super Nintendo, like they've already got the platforms. They don't need to piecemeal the games into it.
Yeah.
They just
Just
make them
put it
available.
out there.
Um, and like while you're at it, Nintendo 64 and GameCube, just
GameCube, yeah.
get those on there. I was one of the people that did not ever really experience a GameCube except for going over to a friend's house and playing Melee. Um, but outside of that, I didn't really experience the GameCube. And there's a couple like I would love to be able to really dive into things like Baten Kaitos,
Hmm.
um, some of the earlier
The early Fire Emblem games.
yeah, like because I don't want to play, or I don't want to pay the new charge on getting those Fire Emblem games from like the Wii and the GameCube,
Hmm.
like 150 to $200 for
Yeah, I'm
like
not doing that.
I don't want to do that.
And
Just
Nintendo could cut that scalper market in, just cut them off at the knees by putting
uh,
those games on the Switch.
that's I remember it was probably like 10 or 12 years ago. I went to OVGE, and one of the stores that had a booth there had like a black label Final Fantasy VII for the PS1, and they were like 60 or $70. And then Final Fantasy VII was added to the PlayStation Store for like $10, and you immediately saw just that physical price drop in half.
Yeah,
So like Nintendo could do that, and you know, and they've shown interest. Like the I think what the first Fire Emblem title,
yeah, the one
they
from
brought,
the Famicom.
yeah, they
Yeah,
brought to the Switch, and it sold like crazy.
yeah, I bought it. I haven't played it yet, but I
Like
bought it because I wanted to have a copy of it.
and like a super old school Fire Emblem, but
Like Nintendo could make bank on Nintendo Switch Online if they would take those second and third tier games that they have, like Captain Toad, like Arms, like Mario Golf, and put those games on Nintendo Switch Online after 6 months. Like get those initial
yeah,
sales from the people that want to buy the game, and then put them on Switch Online because nobody's buying Captain Toad anymore. But
yeah.
if I as a Switch Online owner, if I could download Captain Toad, I would download it and I would play it immediately. And I would probably be willing to give them money for DLC because I got the game for free. I've done that numerous times on Game Pass where I've gotten a game that I wasn't interested in. Like, I never would have spent a dime on Minecraft Dungeons. Because while I like Minecraft and I like the idea, Minecraft Dungeons is a great game, by the way. Um, but I would have never bought it. I downloaded it because it was available on Game Pass, and I bought all the DLC for it because I had a ton of fun. And I thought, okay, they've proven to me this is a really good game. I owe it to them now to give them some money for this thing that I've gotten some enjoyment out of.
And like I like Nintendo, they, I don't know if they just enjoy not giving the fan base what they want. I don't know if it's like some kind of like sick pleasure that they get out of it,
I don't
because
know.
like like I don't know how, like even Reggie, even after he's gone, he's not doing anything with Nintendo anymore. Like he still makes jokes through Twitter about how he no longer has to listen to people clamoring for like Mother 3.
Yeah,
Like it's like, so you guys know, like
yeah,
you guys hear this stuff,
yeah.
like you
They do.
hear
They
all
do.
of the, and you just don't do it. Like what? Like you have, of course, like Nintendo's not exactly hurting for money, so like I don't know. It's just one of those weird situations where like they they can almost do no wrong, and it's just like they know that,
Yeah,
fan base knows that, and they just keep doing whatever they want to do.
yeah. They know
Um,
that if you put out Super Mario Galaxy 2 next week, people are going to buy it, and
yep,
it's true. Um, but they could get so much goodwill and make so much more money, I think, by
yeah,
figuring out a
like
way to monetize those in ways that aren't going to make people furious at them for having to rebuy it.
because
Switch
it'll
Online
be,
could be an incredibly attractive service, and people would be willing to double their subscription price from $20 to $40 a year, like that, if they had access to a proper library of classic titles and not this mishmash
yeah.
stuff that they put on Switch Online.
because I don't they also take games off of the service? Like
I
they,
haven't
because
seen
I like
anything
I
come
know.
off of Switch Online.
Okay,
But like,
maybe
they do those free week trials where they give you the entire game like Captain Toad or Mario Tennis and they give you the entire game that you can download and play as much as you want for a week. Those are the games
yeah.
that need to be on Switch Online permanently as an incentive to get people to subscribe to that service because nobody's buying Mario Tennis anymore.
And even if they did, with like the Super Mario, what was it, the
Mario 35,
35th anniversary? Well, it was like or maybe it was Super Mario 3D
the 3D All
All
Stars
Star.
where they did the
Yeah,
limited time thing.
yeah. Like even if they allowed you to purchase it, but also made it available through like Nintendo Switch Online for a limited time.
Mm-hmm.
That way, people could play it through the online service. I mean, the people are going to buy it anyways, but um, which I don't know if it's still the case or not, but the Owasso Best Buy, I was up there about a month or so ago, and they had like 70 or 80 copies of that physically.
Wow, I should grab
So
a
that
copy of that because I bought it digitally. I had pre-ordered it, but my pre-order was going to be like 5 days late, and I was like, I don't want to wait, so I just bought the digital version of the game, and I really wish I had waited and gotten the physical copy of that.
because yeah, like even if you purchase it and keep it sealed, and who knows, in 10, 15 years, like might have some insane people that are like, oh yeah, I'll buy it for $700.
Yeah,
Like, all right, I've got two copies.
yeah, I'm almost certain
Um,
it's going to be one of those insanely ridiculously high-priced games at some point.
yeah, that's I was looking for Killzone Mercenary for the Vita, and it's like 50 or $60 on eBay. I'm like, this wasn't like it was a good game, but stupid secondhand market.
Yeah,
The people are like, oh well, this platform's dead. Jack up the price. Now, granted, I don't think the Vita ever lived, but
no, the Vita wasn't doomed from the beginning, but it had major issues. Like going
yeah,
proprietary with the storage was a ridiculous choice that I think
yeah,
ultimately hindered what could have been one of the
it,
best handheld systems of all time.
yeah. Like it's a great platform. Like I bought the second edition of it. I had the first edition of it, but like it's a great platform. It's wonderful. I love it. But most of the games are like most of the like actual games, not just like shovelware, is like 1.7 gigs or more.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have a dedicated like an actual memory card for it, then you can't purchase them digitally.
Yeah,
And some of the games actually just download to the memory card. So if you don't have a memory card, you've got to buy one, and the
yeah,
pricing on those things was just insane. They ended up like changing out the charging port because they had a proprietary charging port on the first edition, and they switched it over to a micro USB for the second edition. But like they needed to drop a lot more than just that as far as like the proprietary things because like it's a great platform. It had good support for its first year, um, but I, I I'm guessing Sony just didn't see the numbers that they were wanting to see, and then they started pulling support to put onto the PS4.
yeah,
And but that could be another good episode is just like the dedicated handheld market, just how it's died off, um, and transitioned more to just like mobile phones.
yeah.
But
Uh, as lo- yeah, that's an interesting discussion to be had. And I think the biggest thing with phones is you still have to have the controller peripherals for those to really be gaming devices. Because people will
yeah,
want to play stuff on their phone, but a lot of people, I mean, there's still a lot that do. Like my kids play Roblox, and I do not understand how they play Roblox with touch controls because I've tried and I can't do it. Like it is an awful experience to me. But if I connect a controller, like if I hook an Xbox controller up to my phone and I'm playing Roblox with a controller, I had a great time playing with the kids. Um,
yeah. That's I like I've tried to play some like emulator stuff um, with touch controls, and it just no. Like
Like,
I've even tried doing like the remote play stuff using my phone for the PS4 and PS5 stuff, and it just there's just having the virtual controller on the screen just takes the
yeah,
experience of the game away because you've got all these overlaying things. I'm like, I'm not even enjoying this.
yeah,
Like
and
this
the
is not even
virtual
fun.
controller takes up so much space. That's the one thing I like about Microsoft. Like, I don't want to use touch controls, and I've tried some stuff. Like, I played 2 hours of Sinwa's Sacrifice on my phone using their customized touch controls, and I'm glad they're doing that because there are people that like that and people that really need the touch controls over a proper controller, and they can play the games with those customized touch controls. So I'm glad Microsoft is giving people the option. It's not an option I want to use, but I'm glad
Yeah.
it's there for people who need it.
Well, and that's another avenue that I think Microsoft is definitely leading in
Every
as far as
single
like
Sony and Nintendo need to. I don't care. They need to license that accessibility tech from Microsoft and put it on their
yeah,
systems.
yeah, because like for the most part like they like you know Sony's made some accessibility changes with the DualSense. Like you can make some like you can change the settings and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
as far as like an actual like accessible controller that you know people with disabilities can use, like Microsoft is far and away, they're like Microsoft is really putting their money where their mouth is. Like they've been putting money into accessibility,
Mm-hmm.
new tech. Like they've Bill Spencer knows we cannot like take on Sony and Nintendo directly and come out uh, winning just going head to head with them. We
Yeah.
have to change the game.
Mm-hmm.
We have to we have to Sega this up. Like we have to just change how just the landscape of gaming, whether it with cloud gaming and accessible controllers and goodwill and Xbox Game Pass and all that kind of stuff. Like
Yeah.
having a full backwards compatible you know new system. Like they they have been putting money into in the right directions, and I feel like you know Nintendo they do their own thing. They're always doing their own thing. They've you know, they've gotten away from like I for the most part I don't think they've maybe the Nintendo 64 was like the last time that they made a platform that was like we're going to go head to
Yeah.
head with Sony and
Well,
Sega.
they tried with the GameCube because the GameCube was technically more powerful than the PS2. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah, the lunchbox
yeah.
is also much more durable. I remember an X-Play episode where they physically abused the consoles, and the GameCube
Nintendo
came out
makes
on
the
top.
best hardware, period.
But that's but yeah, it just I feel like Nintendo learned that you know why are we chasing this company
Yeah.
when we can just do our own thing and
And people respond to it.
you know either be just as successful or be just resoundingly more successful.
Yeah.
And I think Microsoft figured that out once they got some of the executives out of the way that made the Xbox One, like Don Matrick, getting him out of the way, and uh, Microsoft has made some major inroads, and then you've got a lot of disruption going on with Google Stadia and Amazon Luna. You know the huge resurgence of PC gaming. Just the power of Steam, and now Epic Game Store is providing some good competition
Mm-hmm.
on that front as well. Like it, it's constantly said, but I think that like right now is like one of the best times to be a gamer because there's so many companies that are pushing in so many different directions, and that almost everybody has something a platform or a service that fits them,
Yeah.
and like uh, I'm super excited for E3 because like
I can't
already
wait. I
like
really cannot
like
wait for E3 this year.
like Microsoft and Bethesda. Like I'm super excited to see what they do, what Nintendo has at their direct, because there's
especially if
the
the Switch Pro stuff ends
yeah,
up coming true.
um, and then just seeing more things from Square Enix. Like, but I want to see some Starfield stuff. Like I was kind of like I was hyped for it, and then I started kind of falling asleep on it because it's been so long since like seeing anything with it, and now knowing that there's a possibility that it could be either later this year or next year that it could come out. I'm like, oh, we're finally gonna get to talk about it now. Um, like like
And with
I'm
me, I have no idea what to expect from E3, and I think that's the most exciting thing is because over the last few years you've known going in sort of what to expect. There have of course been some surprises,
yeah
but I have no clue what's going to happen this year and what any of these companies have and that they're going to bring to the table. Um, I don't even
like
know that there's anything that I'm like, I really, really want to see this. I mean, there's some games that I'd love to see, like a sequel to Rabbids. Um,
yeah
I would
well
really, really love Nintendo to let Capcom revisit the Oracle games with the Link's Awakening engine on the Switch.
and like one thing that I feel like the most recent like previous years of E3 started to lack as Nintendo started doing their own thing and Sony you know stopped doing press conferences at E3. It was kind of just Microsoft doing their own thing, and then like the big publishers doing their showing. But the lack of personality at
Mm-hmm.
E3 started becoming like you had the moments of like the early E3s where there was it was just a hodgepodge of just too much personality, and then it started becoming more about just being the trade show, talking to retailers, and oh, here's all these numbers, and the quarters that we're going to be launching such and such. But then it was kind of around like 2005 to about 2011 or 2012 where like all three of the big companies, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, like they had so much personality. You got to see various faces that were just likable people
Yeah,
that were up on stage showing off games or the like Wii Motion and the Move controllers and Connect and like you were seeing personality on stage, and around the start of like the PS4, like Kevin Butler, like I miss the Kevin Butler stuff. Like that was just an incredible marketing campaign that
mm-hmm.
Sony did, poking fun at themselves. Like that's something that they need to bring back. Um,
Yeah.
but
That was
then
one thing Nintendo was really good about as well.
like
Like their E3
going
skits were funny.
yeah, like around the launch of the PS4 and the Xbox One, it was just dudes in suits standing on stage, and like the personality was gone. It was just let's get to the next trailer. Let's just get to the next trailer. Let's just get to the next trailer. Um, and so I'm that that's one thing that I'm really hoping with this E3 is that the people that are or the team the companies that are doing press conferences, I hope that there's a good level of personality at these
Mm-hmm.
conferences because after the year and a half that the world has had, we need
We need a little bit of fun.
yeah. And I know Nintendo's going to have their directs and they're going to have fun with their stuff, but like I miss the giant stages, all the lights, the audience going crazy about the next major announcements, and but
Yeah.
anyway, uh,
I'm gonna go play some Luna.
alrighty, I'll talk to you later.
See ya.